From colonizer to beggar, France now needs Burkina Faso. With every tick of the clock, France plunges deeper into a financial abyss. $5,000 more debt racks up every single second. Every second. That's how dire the situation is. That's why Ms.Et took the stage. And that's why, from the very moment this government took office, we've insisted, the time for action is now. No more delays, no more excuses. We are standing at the edge of a cliff, one misstep away from being crushed under the weight of this spiraling debt. Let's call it what it is, a national emergency, a mortal threat. If truth is the weapon of the people, then the people of France deserve the truth. All of it. France is bankrupt. And instead of facing that truth head-on, the government wants to squeeze more work out of its citizens just to patch the bleeding. France is gasping for air, drowning in its own debt. Welcome to AfroPlus News Channel, your top source for fearless, intelligent, Africa-first journalism. If you believe in a rising Africa that's reclaiming its voice and standing against global injustice, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content. Your support powers our mission to deliver the stories that matter. And now, today's seismic update. Burkina Faso is no longer in the process of rising. It has already risen. Against all odds, this once struggling nation is now surging forward, making bold gains in both economic strength and national security. But here's the twist. It is France, the old colonial giant, that now teeters on the edge of collapse. Yes, France. The very nation that once ruled over much of Africa with an iron fist is now begging for help, reportedly reaching out to Captain Ibrahim Traoré and other Francophone African leaders for mercy. The tables have turned. A new era has begun. Not long ago, Burkina Faso was buried in poverty, foreign interference, terrorism, and turmoil. But under the unshakable leadership of Captain Traoré, that bleak story has been torn apart. This nation no longer bows to foreign aid, no longer clings to dependency. Instead, it's seizing control of its resources, fortifying its defenses, and investing in its people. How often do we witness an African country breaking free of the neo-colonial chokehold and thriving? This is what bold vision and self-rule look like. Could this be the blueprint for a truly people-first African governance model? Share your views. Is Burkina Faso setting the pace for a new, sovereign Africa? As the continent rises, France is falling. Fast. The French government is now too broke to pay its own workers. They didn't see this wave of African awakening coming. Now, with their economy cracking and their population growing more diverse by the day, with cities like Marseille brimming with Algerians, Moroccans, Senegalese, Guineans, Burkinabe, the old order is crumbling. The world is changing, and France is unprepared. The streets of France are boiling. Protests are erupting. Strikes are paralyzing key sectors. The nation is grinding to a halt. And underneath it all, the numbers are terrifying. France is bleeding over $500 billion a year just on welfare. That's more than 30% of its entire economy going towards supporting people who aren't working and contributing nothing back. And what's the government's grand solution? The Prime Minister had the audacity to step forward and suggest cutting 2 public holidays. Yes, 2 sacred days of rest, erased in the name of financial triage. Because France isn't just in trouble, France is drowning. Its debt has ballooned beyond 120% of GDP. It's running a deficit of nearly 6% per year. That's the kind of spending you see in wartime, not peacetime. And what's the government's answer? Real reform? Austerity? No. They're clinging to spending like a lifeline. Why? Because it's easy to burn through someone else's money. Instead of cutting bloated bureaucracies or tightening their belts, they're playing shell games, cutting holidays, floating the idea of more taxes. in a country already crushed under one of the heaviest tax burdens in the entire developed world. There are only two paths left: cut spending or print money. Either way, the cost will fall squarely on the backs of French citizens, because if they don't slash the budget, they'll have to go begging to the European Central Bank, and that means flooding the economy with more euros and watching inflation skyrocket. The once proud economic powerhouse of Europe is now in full panic mode, and for the first time in modern history, it's not Africa knocking at France's door. It's France, hands outstretched, looking to Africa, asking to come back, promising this time to follow the rules. France is flat broke. They're demanding their citizens work more to pay the price of decades of poor governance. The debt? Now at a soul-crushing 3.3 trillion. Annual interest alone costs 60 billion. This is the future? And their solution? Austerity, rolled out like a cruel joke. The goal? Reduce the deficit from 5.8% to 3% by 2029. And the big idea? Cancel Easter Monday. Erase Victory in Europe Day. Because apparently, national identity and rest mean nothing when you're broke. The estimated savings? $4.2 to $4.5 billion from forcing people to work on days that once held cultural and historical significance. But they didn't stop there. Pensions? Frozen. Healthcare? Slashed by $5 billion. Public sector jobs and wages? On the chopping block. And the people? Furious. The backlash has exploded. Unions are calling it a direct assault on workers. The political class, both left and right, are circling with threats of no-confidence votes. Half the nation believes this is an attack on what it means to be French. And yet, as ordinary citizens brace for cuts and sacrifice, the elites remain untouched. Inside the marble walls of the Economic, Social, and Environmental Council, bureaucrats lounge on £21,000 annual salaries, 54 vacation days, and plush perks, all paid for by the same taxpayers now told to work more for less. That one institution alone costs the public $45 million every year. So let's be honest. France isn't suffering from a lack of money. It's drowning in bureaucracy. The system is bloated, inefficient, and insulated from reality. The question now is simple. Is this the moment of reckoning for France? Is the former colonizer finally getting a taste of its own medicine? Or is this just a tactical retreat? A temporary mask before another push to dominate, this time under the guise of cooperation? We want to hear your voice. Is France finally waking up to reality? Or is this just another calculated move to slip back into Africa through the back door? Leave your thoughts in the comments, respectfully, and tell us, is history finally flipping the script? But perhaps the most powerful symbol of this historic shift is the way Captain Ibrahim Traoré has utterly humbled Emmanuel Macron, and with him, the proud French political class. The same Macron who once sneered at African voices with condescension and colonial arrogance is now being forced to face a changed reality. A continent that no longer kneels, a continent that remembers. Traoré didn't just expel French troops, he demanded something far more threatening to the old world order: dignity, sovereignty, and respect. And now, in a move heavy with irony, it's France knocking at the door it once slammed shut, returning not with threats, but with apologies and promises. Is this the dawn of a new African diplomacy, one built not on submission, but strength? Are we finally seeing a generation of African leaders who can say no and make it stick? Will others follow Traoré's lead, or will they crumble under the same old pressure and return to the trap of foreign dependency? We want to know what you think. Is Traoré the face of Africa's future? Or is this resistance too fragile to last in a world still shaped by empire? Because, make no mistake, France's plea to return isn't just a diplomatic gesture. It's a confession, a quiet, painful admission of failure. For decades, France used Francophone Africa as a financial life support, draining its resources, meddling in its politics, and turning its economies into pawns of Paris. Now, as one African nation after another severs the cord, France is collapsing under the weight of African independence, a liberation not theirs, but ours. This is a rare inflection point in history. Should Africa give France a second chance, under radically new terms? Should we negotiate with the same power that has yet to truly reckon with its past crimes? Or is this the moment to close that chapter forever and build new alliances, Pan-African partnerships, and a future that is ours alone? And if you need proof that the tide is turning, look no further than Niger. Breaking news. France's largest mining giant, the same company that has leached Niger's land for decades, is now on the verge of bankruptcy. Why? Because Niger finally stood up. This company spent years extracting uranium from Niger's soil, paying next to nothing. By law, they were entitled to 63% of production. In reality, they were hauling off 86% and paying taxes on none of it. Let that sink in. They were paying 0.80 cents per kilo of uranium, not $200, which is the fair market rate, but less than $1. And when Niger's president finally said, "Enough," and demanded proper payment, a fair price for a critical resource, the French company refused. So Niger did what any sovereign nation should do. They kicked them out. And now, in a final twist of imperial absurdity, the company is suing Niger, dragging the country to court for asserting control over its own resources. But Niger is standing firm. They've exposed the theft. They've exposed the exploitation. And they are no longer begging. The question is, who's next? We don't want them here. Not in my country. Not anymore. We want our resources back. All of them. We want them nationalized, managed by us, for us. Look at Niger. Today, more homes are lit, more families connected. When President Abdourahmane Tiani stepped into power, only 15% of Nigerians had access to electricity. Now, that number has surged to 70%. That's not luck. That's leadership. That's what happens when a nation stops begging and starts building. So what does real partnership look like in a world beyond colonialism? Tell us what you think. Because this story, this moment, should be a warning to every leader on the African continent. Do not sell your people's future for a photo op with Western leaders. Burkina Faso is proving the impossible is possible. You can develop without foreign aid. You can govern without puppet strings. You can create security without foreign boots on your soil. But make no mistake, it takes guts. It takes leaders who love their nations more than they fear the whispers of global elites. So the question is no longer just about leaders, it's about us. Are we ready to back those brave enough to stand tall? Or are we still shackled by comfort and fear? Do you believe Africa's youth, the beating heart of the continent, will rise to defend this hard-won independence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What role must everyday citizens play in protecting what's being built in Burkina Faso, in Niger, across the continent? Conclusion. Africa is not the desperate, broken land the global media has spent decades painting it to be. Africa is rising. Burkina Faso has risen. And now, the world is watching. The axis of power is tilting. For the first time, France isn't dictating terms. It's asking for permission. The colonizer returns, not with orders, but with open hands. Not as a master, but as a beggar. And now, the choice belongs to Africa. The moment is ours. How we respond, how we rise, will define the next chapter of our future. So what do you believe? Are we witnessing the birth of true African liberation? Or is this just a wolf dressed in diplomatic clothing? Let's talk about it in the comments, respectfully, constructively. This is more than a broadcast. It's a movement. We're not just telling stories, we're changing the story. If you believe in what we're doing, help us stay bold, stay independent, and speak the truths others won't. Join our channel membership. Send a super thanks. Every contribution fuels this revolution in African journalism. And above all, like, share, and subscribe to AfroPlus News Channel. Together, we're rewriting the narrative. Together, we're reclaiming Africa. This video is intended solely for educational and informational purposes. It represents independent analysis and commentary based on publicly available information and verified reports. AfroPlus News Channel does not endorse hate speech, violence, or the spread of misinformation. We encourage all viewers to fact-check, think critically, and participate in discussions with respect and integrity.